Hello all, welcome to study 7 of the Solving Studies to Improve Chess Calculation. The first challenge, try to find where is the composer of this one coming from. Yes, not difficult, of course. It's from Finland. It's a Finnish composer. Uh, I saw that he has more than 70 studies, which is already interesting. Uh, this is the first position we are going to have on this series where white plays and draws, not winning. So white plays and draws. Uh, I like this study a lot because it gives many movement for the black side, which make it harder to calculate deeply. Nevertheless, I think it's an achievable task. I hope you also can find a solution. So get ready. The countdown is going to start, and I see you in the solution as always. Okay, here we are to see how this is solved. And the correct first move is King G7. I don't know if you have found it. I hope yes. This is the right solution. We are going to try to understand it as always. So first, let's move away the forcing moves like check, where the king takes the pawn and there's no progression possible for white. So next move, black will promote possibly unless I check, and so next or two moves ahead the black side will have a queen, and queen versus knight and bishop, it's a win for the queen. So here we have nothing to lose time. And what about knight f6? Because knight f6 at first sight, it seems it may work. Like, for example, if the king goes down, which is also a blunder, then we have the discovered check. And because the bishop is checking the king is forced to move. And next move, I'll take the pawn. And instead of drawing, white is already going for the win because knight and bishop will win. So that's not possible for black. The same thing goes for this side. It's basically the same thing. We check and then we take the pawn. So also not possible. And the same goes to the other dark square. Why? Because we can simply check, then the king moves, and now I can move my knight to e3 where it controls the promotion of the pawn. So here I have another win for white. Uh, the only possible move for black is to go king g6, which allows him to win. Because what else can we do over here? There are no ways to get to the pawn. We can't avoid the pawn promotion to queen. So even if we play like this, making it harder, the pieces are connected for white. So now black promotes. Okay, this is harder for black because the queen is playing against bishop and knight plus pawn, but still it's a win for black. It's just a matter of the black player knows about how to deal with this, basically approaching and trying to disconnect the pieces. I will show you this more ahead, but basically there's no way to find a good move after the king goes to g6. So we need to come back a bit. And many times, what you see is okay. The king has access to this square. Next move, it will promote to a queen. But what if I play first my king and allow him to play the promotion? Basically, we find these ideas by again changing moves. So we are thinking, okay, I want to check, and then the king will go here. But if first I control this square, then I can check, and let's see what happens. And basically, the solution starts to come after we start this kind of different approach. So we start with the king, the pawn promotes, and now I am going for the check. Same thing for for black. So only two moves at the moment, and let's start by the most easy one. So if it moves to the side, then I can check. Don't forget, I need to deliver this check, not, for example, this one. Okay, I need to know what I am doing, because first I don't want the king to escape over f4, and at the same time I don't want to lose my bishop. So be careful always where you check. So if I would have been here, I would have allowed the king to escape. So here the king can't come down because I will fork. When we have a knight, we are always threatening forks. Also, this is important for the attacking side. If there's a knight on the other side, pay always attention to potential forks. Be very careful. It's not the first and it will not be the last time a player loses a game because it allows a fork in a winning position. So the king needs to move back because it can't stay, of course, in this diagonal. In this or this square, light squares, it allows the fork of the knight to checking and getting the queen. So basically needs to come back, and again we repeat the move. So there's no progression from black going to the side. So only move possible is to go to h4. Now we simply have to deliver another check. Again, don't forget we are trying to play with the light square. Okay, so if the king moves here, I will have the fork, but don't make the mistake of going to this side where the intention is if the king goes here, I can fork over here because I will allow my bishop that it's now unprotected. So always pay bit of attention, but we will find soon that this also not only delivers the check but blocks the queen from reaching the bishop, which is a key move. Of course, if the king goes back, then we repeat the move, so no need to see that. If the king goes here, then I have a fork, okay, winning the queen. So the king basically has one move. Here we can see the importance of the pawn. So remember, all pieces in the studies matter, and this is very important. All pieces matter, and the only task of this pawn, this lonely pawn, is in this situation to avoid the king to get away through h3, because if h3 was possible, if the pawn was not here, then black will escape from here. Uh, the king needs to move to g6, of course, to g3, and then we check it again. If it comes back, I check again. So no progression. If it goes to the white square, I have the fork. So only possible move again is to go over here. Because taking the pawn, of course, is a mistake because it allows the fork again. So light squares are a bit dangerous because the queen is in a light square and the knight is playing with the threat of the forks. The king needs to come to f2. We check again. Again, taking the pawn allows a fork, so not possible. Going to another light square f1 allows another fork, so the king needs to keep running away. And the last square available is e1. Now another check, and the only way the king can avoid not being forked is coming back, because if it goes to e2, then we get another fork, beautiful forks everywhere, and so the king needs to come back, and we can't have any progression. And in a very interesting way, white has found a way to give perpetual checks until the end of the game. So I hope you have enjoyed this part, but I want to show you a bit more. This is more or less the solution already done, but I want to show you here what happens if we get this situation. Okay. Because sometimes we think, okay, this is so easy and we quit. No, this is hard, and I wanted to give you a line, at least one line, so you get more or less an idea what we have to do. So now we are threatening to take the bishop. So this is a line where white makes the mistake and allows the king to get to g6. This is a win for black, but still it's harder. So the king protects the bishop. Now the best way is to approach our queen. Our intention is to remove space the more that we can to the white pieces, so they are forced to move away from each other's, because now they are like in a fortress, very close. The bishop protects the check, and now I will position my queen again to remove space to the white pieces, and I prefer this approach. So now the king, we are more or less playing against the king. The king has reduced its space. Of course, the knight moves to a possible position. I'll give a check, forcing again the knight to come. Don't forget that here again we need to pay attention. If I take the pawn here, what happens? Well, we get a simply fork, and it will be a draw because the king goes, and so it's a draw. So always be careful, either you are in the attacking side or the defensive side. So here this is more forcing move. I'm also giving good moves for white. I could play weaker ones that allow me to take the pawn, then go after one of the pieces, and then of course go after delivering checkmate. And now I approach the king. The pawn is still untouchable because it's possible to approach it to the white pieces. And maybe you think, okay, this is starting to be a bit dangerous, but it isn't if you are removing space for the king. What is the best move to remove more space for the king now? It's to go with a check, the king moves, and then another check, the king moves away, and now check. And now, as you can see, now things are harder for white because now I am controlling the eighth rank. This knight is protected by this bishop, so the bishop can't go, for example, over here because the knight is going to be attacked. And the pawn also is pending just by one piece. So the bishop now starts to get a bit overloaded, but of course it needs to move now. Uh, we attack again. We pull less squares for the white king. Then the pawn advances with check. We come back, no worries about it, because now the only piece defending the pawn is the knight. The bishop goes playing one move. This is more or less a possible move. Of course, we give a check. The king needs to move more far away. Don't forget that we are always threatening to take pieces. For example, if it goes over here, do you find the right move? Yes, check. The king moves and we take the knight. So the less space white has, the less possibilities it has to escape. So coming here, as you can see, white is starting to have problems to stay connected. We give another check, the king moves. Now we can move again our king. There are more than one way to win, but I want to show you at least one line where we are forced. Here we give a check and the bishop protects again. Another check, and for example here, if the king comes back, is another checkmate. So we can move a bit, and now the bishop goes away. Remember, this is a tricky move again, because if you take, we get a fork, and after a while we are going to be able, this is a smart move, because removing the king away from the forking threat, I am now threatening to take the bishop. So the bishop needs to come back, and look how close we are to take the one piece, because now the king can't move. The knight moving away allows us to take the pawn, and so on. So the knight moves over here, and so we take the pawn, and that's the way we force these positions. We have to be patient, but basically we should not be afraid to go with the queen and king near the pieces, okay, so restricting the space. And because white is forced to move, it can't pass, we are going to have these kind of situations where we are going to be able to win one pawn, then one piece, and so on. Okay, this was just more for pedagogic purpose, so we don't think that just because we have a queen, it's easy, okay? My suggestion is restrict white space so you can force them to not be in a fortress, and then you are going to win. Okay, but basically the beauty of the study is to find this move, and I hope you have done it, and I hope you have enjoyed the video. See you again in future studies. Bye bye.